This morning's reading is taken from Exodus chapter 3 and may be found on page 59 and 60 in the Pew Bibles. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said to him, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I, that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship the God on this mountain. Moses said to God, Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, The God of your father has sent me to you, and they ask me, What is his name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. That is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, Say to the Israelites, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name by which I am to be remembered from generation to generation. Go, assemble the elders of Israel, and say to them, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt, and I have promised to bring you up out of your misery in Egypt into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders of Israel will listen to you. Then you and the elders are to go to the king of Egypt and say to him, The Lord, the God of Hebrews, has met with us. Let us take a 3-day journey into the desert to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand compels him. So I will stretch out my hand and strike the Egyptians with all the wonders that I will perform among them. After that, he will let you go. And I will make the Egyptians favorably disposed towards this people, so that when you leave, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman is to ask her neighbors, and any woman living in her house for articles of silver and gold, and for clothing, which you will put on your sons and daughters. And so you will plunder the Egyptians. This is the word of the Lord.
Thank you, Pam. Good morning. If we haven't met, my name's Judith Sargent. I'm one of the occasional preachers here at St Mary's. So, what would you love people to say of you when you die? A startling question, perhaps, but a good one to ponder sometimes. What people said about Moses was, no one ever had a relationship with God like Moses did. That's something to long for. So what interests me in this passage is, how did this relationship begin? How did it happen? And what can we learn of God through Moses? Becca and Cheska have taken us through a whistle-stop tour of Moses' early life. He was born an Israelite, but because Pharaoh was seeking to oppress and effectively wipe out his people, he was hidden, and then in a weird twist, adopted and raised by Pharaoh's own daughter. So he had a privileged early life. But as is often the case for those whose lives straddle two cultures, we see he was really struggling with identity. We last met him as an angry young man, his frustration boiling over into killing. And he had to run away, he had to flee, so he ended up in exile from both cultures. Many years have passed. Moses has been living and married and has a son. He's working as a shepherd for his father-in-law. He's a foreigner in every way from his birth and early life, but he's living a life. The Exodus account invites us to see God's hand in Moses' early life, but there's nothing to suggest that Moses would have seen it that way. There's very little to know about Moses' faith life at this point. God is barely mentioned in the story up until now. It is apparent that he had heard accounts of a God who had been with his ancestors. We also know that the Egyptians worshipped many different gods for different places and things. And we know that probably there was some of that kind of worship in the family that he'd married into. So probably his faith life was a bit of a mishmash of all of that. And then an ordinary working day turns strange. Moses is leading his sheep through the arid Sinai Peninsula looking for water and food. And he notices something odd. He notices a bush that seems to be on fire, and yet it's not burning up. So there's no religious motive. He just wants to see what's going on, and he wanders over. And whatever it was, a flaming presence speaks his name twice. And Moses hears this call and answers, "Here I am." First thing to note, Moses was callable. He was open. He was curious. Second thing to notice, Moses had the courage to be humble. The presence announces, "I am the God of your father, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This place is holy because I am here." And Moses feels the awe of a God too big for him, beyond him, overwhelming. The impossible, unnatural fire might have been a bit of a clue here. He doesn't run, but he doesn't come closer either, and he daren't look. And God shares with Moses his care for the people of Israel and his plan to rescue them from Egypt. And I wonder whether at this point Moses was thinking, good, at last, hope. I'm so much better off out of that place. It would be so good if my people were to be rescued. And then, boom, the sucker punch. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt. Whoa. No wonder Moses needed a dramatic sign. This is genuinely preposterous. If God ever calls you to do something that is so foolish, so unlikely, so different from your life, he will make sure that you know very clearly. Even the easy bits of this seemed impossible. Why would the Israelites listen to Moses? They had rejected him. He was a discredited, sort of Egyptian runaway. And then telling the most powerful historical figure in his world to give up the workforce that's so lucrative for you and let them go. Why would he? That's not going to happen. It's mad. And then, of course, there's the small matter of a death sentence hanging over Moses' head if he goes back to Egypt. Moses had tried to help in the past and been a failure, and it seems he was pretty broken by that. So, third thing to notice, Moses was honest and real with God. He says, I can't do it. One translation puts it, I am nobody. How can I? And isn't that us too? Maybe facing a challenge in life in some way, maybe wondering about stepping up in a new way at church or at work or in another area of life. Maybe especially when we hear a talk at church about God using us to reach others with his love. Maybe there's an area of life we know we need to change. I can't do it, God. And God answers Moses, I will be with you. Just that. You don't need to be all the things you wish you were. You don't need to be sorted, powerful, perfect. This is my work. I will be with you. What you need to do is obey. God doesn't reassure Moses by running through his CV. Well, actually, you are just the right person. Unlike all the other Israelites, you were raised to be a leader, not a slave. You have contacts at court. Oh, and as a shepherd, you just happen to know well the land the people are going to have to pass through. And also, this is one for the covering letter, it's right up your street. You have a real heart for the underdog. All of those things were true. But if Moses, or if we, depend on ourselves, failure at the first hurdle. I will be with you. And we have the same promise, which Jesus makes to all who put their trust in him. The Holy Spirit of God, the Comforter, the giver of gifts, will live with you and be in you forever. Fourth thing to note, Moses persists. And maybe this is the roots of faith, in the middle of doubt, keeping on seeking God. The way Moses puts it is, if I were to do this crazy thing, the first thing they'll ask is, who is this God you claim sent you? And I won't know what to say. But I think this is asking for a friend. Moses is saying for himself, I need more from you, God. I don't really know you. And this is us too, isn't it? Unsure, we really know God, may be worried that if we step out in faith, it will expose the shallowness of our spiritual lives. What if I offer to pray for someone and nothing happens? What if somebody asks me about faith and I don't know what to say? In asking, "What is your name?" Moses is asking for much more than a label. He's asking, "I want to know you. I want to understand you. I want to have the measure of you, God. I want to know all about you." And the answer he receives is profoundly enigmatic. "I am who I am." Could also be translated, "I will be who I will be," or "I will make happen what I will make happen." There is no name which can capture God. God is not the God of this place or the being with that power. He is far, far beyond that. No human can fully know God or describe God. No human can say, "I know all about God." And if we pretend we can, we're denying his deity. But God is saying to Moses, "You can know me through how I reveal myself as I speak and act in your life. You can't wait to know me and then follow me. You will know me by following me." So from this encounter, what is revealed to Moses about God? And then through Moses, what can we see of God and know? We've already noted Moses coming to see God's awesome fearfulness. There is something beyond here, so much greater than me, that makes the very place set apart. I daren't go too close. I daren't even look. And he learns this awesome God finds a way to relate to us. God knows my name. God speaks to me. God responds to my searching questions. God promises to be with me. And God tells him, "I am constant. I am unchanging. I am who I am and will be forever, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When I commit to people, I don't go away. You will see I keep my promises. What is learnt of me in the past remains true always." And God tells him, "I am a God who cares. I see the suffering of the Israelites. I hear their cries." In fact, the words convey the meaning, "I suffer for the suffering of the Israelites," looking ahead to Christ's suffering on the cross. And God tells Moses, "I am active in this world. I am going to rescue the Israelites. The greatest empire in your world will yield to me." And at the end of the chapter, verses 21 to 22 are fascinating and important. The people of Israel have been denied the right to benefit from their own labours. So they don't have any resources to take with them to build a future life. This is wrong, and God is going to rectify it. God is revealing himself as a God of justice, with a heart for the excluded and the downtrodden. And if we want to know him, so must we be. So Moses, unexpectedly, has had a dramatic spiritual experience, a call, a promise, and a sign. There will be much more for him to learn and grow into, but this is a lot to take in. God tells him, "You will fully know this is true when you are back in this place, worshipping me with the freed people of Israel." And as a sign, that seems a bit tricky, because it hasn't happened yet. And that is the life of faith, isn't it? We have to walk forwards, trusting, sometimes for a long time. And as we do so, we learn of God who is trustworthy. How did Moses respond? You'll have to come back next week to find out. But what about us? One of the things which struck me reading this chapter was that this wonderful sign and experience was not just for Moses, it was to become a call and a promise and a sign for the people of Israel, an invitation to come out to trust God. And I wonder if all of them did, or if there were some who said, it's awful here, but better what we know, and missed out. I don't know. We don't know that, do we? So it was going to become a call for those people. And of course, the Exodus is the huge forming part of the people of Israel, the story through which our understanding of God is formed, through which our understanding of Jesus is formed. It's a part of God's plan and invitation of rescue, not just for them, but for the whole of the world. So we too have a call to accept Jesus' rescue and new life as part of God's people, a call to live lives that speak of God's love. That is all of our calling every day, wherever we are. And there will be specifics to that call for each of us this week. Maybe something you're being called to do. Maybe something about this week that feels challenging. Maybe being more open about Jesus. Maybe something that is getting in the way to let go of. Maybe accepting Jesus' rescue more deeply. And we too have a promise, Jesus' promise. I will be with you always, the gift of the Holy Spirit. And we too have a sign, the extraordinary sign of Jesus' resurrection. So how will we respond this week?